OK, there really is only one place to start in this hour, and that's the controversial Rwanda bill that could make or break Rishi Sunak's premiership. We can show you viewers live now pictures from the House of Commons as we speak, and that's being debated all the way through the day, ahead of that crucial vote, of course, tomorrow evening. And with dozens of Tory MPs opposing the bill in its present form, GB News can reveal exclusively that 8 DUP MPs will vote against the government tomorrow, adding their numbers to a growing tally of Tory rebels, 66 and counting. And I'm joined now by GB News' political editor, Christopher Hope, who is in Westminster Hall in the heat of the action, at the heart of it. Chris, what's the latest on this dramatic day in Parliament?
Well, Martin, you'll know more very soon than we thought, because we think the votes are now at 5:30 p.m. during your show, not at 7 p.m. as we had thought. It seems the MPs have got to move on, got to wiggle on, and spoken more quickly than we thought. So we'll have some more idea. And what viewers should look out for is how many are supporting these amendments put down by Sir Bill Cash and Robert Jenrick, because that will give a feeling of how many might vote tomorrow. And it's all about tomorrow, the momentum from these votes overnight are going to tomorrow, more voting tomorrow, and the crucial third reading, probably on the unelected bill, will be tomorrow night. Only 30 Tory MPs needed to bring the whole thing down, crashing down around the Prime Minister and starting a crisis in his government. But one MP from the Red Wall seat who is not voting for the amendments and is voting with the government is James Daly MP, the MP for Bury North, the most marginal Tory MP in the country, who got a majority of just 105 back in 2019. And James Daly joins me now. James, why are you voting for the Rwanda bill when your colleagues think it won't work?
Well, that's their opinion. My opinion is completely different. I think it will work. I think it's a robust piece of legislation. I'm grateful and thankful we've got a Prime Minister who wants to put legislation through Parliament that is going to address many of the concerns of my constituents, and I think this will do it.
But why? Because your colleagues, you know them all, don't you? Lee Anderson and others, Brendan Clark-Smith and other colleagues of yours, good colleagues who know what they're talking about, and they tell us it won't work. And you do represent what I can term a Red Wall seat. We are told the Red Wall wants tough measures on immigration. They're trying to toughen up this legislation.
I'm a lawyer. For 4 years I've been a member of the Justice Select Committee in Parliament. I'm a member of the Home Affairs Select Committee in Parliament. I've actually been to the beaches with the Home Affairs Select Committee to speak to the people who are coming over.
With Lee Anderson?
With Lee Anderson. Lee is a very good friend of mine. On this we disagree. But it is quite clear that a deterrent policy is required. And sometimes in this debate we talk about lots of things, but this is a deterrent. And the only piece of evidence, Chris, that has been ever quoted in the House of Commons was by my colleague Simon Fell. And I was with him when he had the conversation. When it became clear that the British government were about to put in place the Rwanda policy, there was a rush of people at the French coast, and the French officials told us that was because they wanted to get across to Britain before this policy came in, because it is a deterrent. The idea behind it is to stop people coming here, and that's what it will achieve. And as I say, many of my friends and colleagues appear to be taking a different view to me, but they have not produced any evidence to me whatsoever that this bill is not going to work.
So what's going on then? Do you think the bill has been hijacked by people who want a kind of pure model of sovereignty and they're ignoring something which might just work?
I would prefer to look at it as a honourable disagreement with colleagues regarding a policy that we all support. I mean, the bizarre thing about this is that the actual deterrent policy as part of a sweep of measures to counter immigration is supported by every single Conservative MP. It's bonkers. We actually want this policy in place. Now, in its present form, with my legal background and with the experience that I have, I would not be stood here with a 105 majority if I didn't think this policy would work. I do think it will work. I think it disapplies parts of the Human Rights Act. And the Prime Minister has a record, that he acts upon these things. We've seen reductions in crossings over the last 12 months. We've seen positive steps forward. And this legislation will do the trick.
We had your colleague Tom Hunt, elected MP for Ipswich back in 2019, on Martin Daubney's show just 2 hours ago, and he was saying this is not going to work. It's an existential crisis for the Tory party if it can't tackle immigration. Don't you risk getting this through maybe tomorrow, passing through the Lords, getting the first flights off by May, but it won't really work properly, and you'll have judges frustrating the progress of the deportations all the way?
existential crisis. It's nonsense. We're talking about whether a policy that the government have put forward is going to act as a deterrent to stop people who are currently on the beaches in Calais from coming over here. There is no evidence that it will not work. None. And I may be an old-fashioned politician, Chris, but I want to see evidence to back what I am actually going to support. The evidence that I see from being and speaking to French officials, to seeing what the immigration situation is, being on 2 select committees, Tom and me, I would like to consider Tom a friend. I think he's a good man. Me and him a number of months ago as members of the New Conservatives, one of these alleged 5 families, which we could have another conversation about, me and him put forward a report in front of the national press as to how to address immigration issues. So I'm no shrinking violet in respect to this. I just think this will work, which in the modern parliament seems to be quite, why on earth would he do that? Evidence-based policy, my legal background, my opinion, this will work, this will address the concerns, it will act as a deterrent, and we will see planes leaving, as the Prime Minister has said.
So you're in the New Conservatives, the group that Danny Kruger co-chairs with Miriam Cakes. Now, Danny Kruger was on GB News earlier saying he can't support it. Are you saying that, guess what, Tory MPs don't speak with one voice all the time?
I'll let you into a secret. We're not a cult. Do you know what I mean? We are actually functioning individuals with our own opinions, and we on important issues we'll take different viewpoints. We've seen it over the years. This is not unusual. This is a healthy democracy. I take the viewpoint the Prime Minister's come forward with the most robust piece of immigration legislation this country has ever seen. It's a great improvement on where we are. I think it's going to answer the concerns, the right concerns of my voters and voters throughout the country. What is there not to support? What is it? The people who you interview, tell them to give us the evidence that this is not going to act as a deterrent. Tell them to point to me whereabouts this is going to put those people who are coming and travelling hundreds and thousands of miles to go to the French coast. If they know about this and there is the potential for them to be taken and their application to be processed in Rwanda, that is going to stop people coming to the French coast.
We're minutes away from the first votes on the Bill Cash amendment, ignoring human rights laws for illegally arrived migrants. What would you be saying to MPs in the voting lobbies if you saw them walking into the no lobby, or rather the yes lobby for the amendment, but against the government?
Well, all I can say is that my point of view, and I hope that colleagues will listen to different points of view. But I also think there's a different perspective here, and it's not only just about this issue. I don't want this country to have the scourge of socialism. If we don't unite, just in general, to fight the Labour Party, the incompetent Labour Party who had destroyed this country, who destroyed the north of England for 20 to 30 to 40 years, the reason why I'm here, if we allow that to happen in respect to battles within our own party, when we have a perfectly functioning policy, then I think the country is going to suffer. And what matters is the country and this government coming up with the policies which, compare it, Chris, open door immigration from the Labour Party, they've got no policy whatsoever. And colleagues are complaining at our policy, which is the most strident we've ever had.
Labour would counter that, saying they do want to control migration. They have got plans to deal with law enforcement bodies on the continent, but they haven't been in government yet for 13, 14 years. And also, they would actually repeal the Rwanda bill if they get in power. The Rwanda Act if it gets there.
Well, that's just the insanity of their policy. We went to France, part of a cross-party committee. The French authorities are telling us, you need a deterrent. The Germans, the Austrians, the Danes, that bastion of right-wing extremism, the Danish government, they passed a law which allows for offshore processing like this. The European Union are giving, I think it's Turkey, billions in respect of offshore processing. I think it's the UN, but other organisations are using Rwanda for offshore processing. What is there to not support in respect of this? Governments are following our lead and our Prime Minister's lead.
But lawyers will fight it. Individual cases, and individual reasons not to go to Rwanda is what the critics say will be the problem for this legislation. Well,
shock horror. Lawyers will represent clients. My God, that must have come as a bolt out of the blue to colleagues in respect of that. We are the rule of law, and the law within this country is something that we should cherish. It provides the stability upon which our political system is based. I want a robust system that allows people to appeal in a very restricted set of circumstances. As I say, a number of parts of the Human Rights Act are taken off, not the most taken away, but are disapplied. Sorry, Chris. Yeah, in respect of this, so we are taking some very robust legal steps. But shock horror, lawyers act for clients. Let us hope that is the case.
Will you bet me a pint of beer that not a single migrant will be flown to Rwanda before the end of May?
We will get planes in the air, and we will get migrants having their claims processed. But more importantly, and this is when you'll buy me the beer back, is you'll be able to say to me, you'll be able to tell GB News viewers what a deterrent this is. We are seeing reduced numbers at the French coast and reduced people coming across there at the behest of gangs and various other criminals, putting their lives at risk. And that's what this is about. Now think about this. If you voted down a deterrent that could stop people losing their lives, question mark.
I suppose the problem is that people are are they refighting the Brexit wars from 2019? Do they see it as a sovereignty issue? That's where we are.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, perhaps they do. I can't get inside people's heads. I hope that we judge issues on a issue by issue basis, and that although I'm talking to I feel very strongly about this issue. I respect my colleagues if they have a different view in respect of it. But we don't talk in the Conservative Party as one voice because you are perceived to be, on the right of the party. You don't all share 100% of everything that people say, and so I get back to the point. This will work, and not one person has been able to put forward any evidence to me to say it won't.
Well, James Daly, MP for Barry North, thank you for joining us tonight on GB News. And Martin, you heard there James Daly making very clear that not everyone agrees with Tom Hunt in your studio just 2 hours ago. And in fact, not even the New Conservative speak as one voice in what will be a dramatic vote with minutes away here in the House of Commons.
Superb there, Chris Hope from Westminster Hall. James Daly, New Conservative, Barry North will vote with the bill. Tom Hunt, New Conservative, Ipswich will not. Lee Anderson, Brandon Clark-Smith, both the deputy chairman, they said they will not vote for this and they will lose their deputy chairmanships, no doubt, as a consequence of that. A dramatic few hours ahead of us. That